Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. I am your host, Kris, and you are tuned to the place for all your European football news. We'll go to Spain, France, Italy and Germany. Stay tuned. Hello, good evening and welcome, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. I am your host, Kris, and it's a two-man crew once again. We're short in our numbers because tonight it is just myself and John. Good evening, John.
Evening, Kris.
We've scared them all away again, mate. I don't know what we're doing wrong.
Yeah, it's very strange. We're not even in the same room with them, and they're terrified.
No. I know, it's terrible, isn't it? We should say Tom's got a commitment this evening that he's not able to get out of, so he sent me plenty of notes. There's plenty here to chew on in Spain. Andrew, obviously, we continue to be without, unfortunately, due to work commitments, but he will return. So we promise we haven't all fallen out. We're not all trying to sort of, do bad things to each other. It's all good. So I'm sure the team will be back together before you know it. But in the meantime, myself and John are going to do our best to steer you through the major four European leagues and a little bit from America later on as well. Right, John, we're going to start in France this week because I thought, well, it's been a while, so I'm going to hog the spotlight. So I will hand the show over to you as we start this week's roundup in France. It's this week's Liga.
Right, well, best way to start the show off with is plenty of goals. Not plenty of goals for Metz, sadly, but plenty for Monaco.
Yes, 7. Count them, 7. You always get this sort of thing that French football is not entertaining and there's no goals and it's very defensive, and then you get a result like this and you go, okay. And of course, Monaco are quite famous for being quite defensive. Leonardo Jardim is quite a defensive coach, but the shackles were off. And yes, Monaco went away to Metz and absolutely spanked them, it's fair to say. And to be honest, Metz have got a pretty decent record at home. It's the Stade Symphorien Stadium. But yes, 19,000 people were quite shocked to see Monaco turn up and just blow them off the pitch. Lemar and Germain had them 2 up inside 23 minutes. Bernardo Silva, that man again, popping up with a third before half-time. And the game was completely gone when on in the 60th minute, Metz were reduced to 10 men. Doucouré was sent off and the floodgates opened. Fabinho, yet another goal from the penalty spot for him to make it 4. 2 goals for Carrillo in just under 10 minutes for him to make it 5 and 6. And then a late goal from Boschilia, making it 7-0. Monaco are impressive. They really are. They had that blip, do you remember we mentioned a few weeks ago, and they lost to Nice 4-0 and comprehensively turned over. But Metz have been doing really well. They've been promoted from last season from Ligue 2, but they were sitting on 13 points and doing rather well. And ironically, they've actually gone up in the table this week as a result of other results. But yeah, 7-0 at home is never a good way to start your weekend. I suppose the only saving grace for them now is we've got an international break. They can lick their wounds and get their defensive training together. But terrific result for Monaco away from home. And yeah, at the moment, touch wood, there's definitely a title race on here, I think.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see. I know we said it a few times, but Monaco look like not just challenging for the title, but also entertaining along the way. I think even when they've sort of won games by 1 or 2 goals, they've still been good to watch. If not as prolific in front of goal as they were in this, but good times for Liga at the moment.
4-4-2 as well, by the way, playing a 4-4-2. Old
nice
school.
To see. So actually, it's sort of come back into fashion, not just in France, but sort of around Europe, hasn't it?
It's slipping in, isn't it? Yeah. Or certainly 2 forwards anyway. Some people are switching from the 4-2-3-1 to a 4-1-3-2. But yeah, it's definitely 2 forwards is starting to come back into fashion, yeah.
Now, we'll move on to Nice against your beloved Lorient. Not a good result for you, and a rather mixed day for a certain Mario Balotelli.
Yes, why always him? Well, simple. It's Mario, isn't it? But yeah, he had a good day and then not so good day, and now his day's come back good again today. If that makes any sense, we'll pick our way through it. Yes, this is a good game of football actually. The Allianz Riviera Stadium. Nice running out 2-1 winners, unfortunately for, as you say, my beloved Lorient. But to be honest with you, if you'd have said you lose at Nice, it's not going to be a big surprise, given the sort of position in the table and the way the teams are in form. But once again, Big Lucien is he's got the magic touch with Nice, and they were in front after 11 minutes. Ricardo Pereira putting home Bodmer's through ball, and that was the opener for Nice, and all was going well. Lorient were actually pretty decent, it has to be said. They came back into the game, and just after half time, 61 minutes to be exact, Benjamin Mukanjo, lovely finish if you haven't seen it, really nice little outside the boot clip as the ball come across as he was put through on goal by Mara, and it was all looking good at that particular point for Lorient, and I thought, maybe we might get a result away from home, and it was all looking really, really good until the 86th minute, and Willian Cyprien cut the ball back to Balotelli, who, with his back to goal, turns and sort of arcs a curling shot up and over Lecomte, who, has to be said, was a little bit too far off his line, and into the top right hand corner of the net, and a winner for Nice. But that wasn't the end of the drama, because in his celebration, off went Mario, and off went Mario's shirt, as you do, and then unfortunately he had a coming together at the end of the match. Forgive me, I don't know who it was actually that he clashed with. I forget, terrible memory. But he had a clash with one of the Lorient players, and essentially sort of leant into him with his head. It's one of those, and the referee deemed that a second bookable offence. He actually booked him, and I think he'd forgotten he'd already booked him because he was going to walk away, but the Lorient players were very quick to remind him he had already been booked, and off went Mario. But a good win for Nice, and they are the Liga top table as once again first in the league, and once again they looked impressive, if a little nervy at times, but I hear through the grapevine from your good self that the appeal has been successful and Mario won't miss any games. So
that's what's being reported in Italy anyway, because obviously they love to follow what Mario does wherever he is in the world. But yeah, apparently it seems that they're going to rescind the red card, and as you said, it looked like the referee had kind of forgotten he'd already booked him. Whether that's the correct thing to do is up for debate. But it looks like he's going to not receive a ban. So. Good news for Nice.
Absolutely, yeah. Good win for him, and good news, because Mario has been so far very, very good, and he seems to have a good attitude right now. How long that lasts is open to debate, but fair play to him.
Yeah, trying to work his way back into that Italian national team if he can. The door is open apparently, so if he keeps putting in those performances, you never know. Now, last game we want to move on to is the Derby de Rhône. Or the Rhône Derby. I'm sure it's got lots of other names as well, and I've probably butchered that one. But Olympique Lyonnais against Saint-Etienne. How did this one go, Chris?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, the Riviere Derby is another one you can use. It's a fiery derby, fiery in the extreme, and there was a lot of challenges that were very fiery in this game as well. Lyon's it's the first time they played their bitter rivals at their Stade de Lumière stadium. It's the first time they've welcomed them. No fans from St Etienne. They were looking for 2,000 allocation. They were told no, you can have 771. So they said no, we'll have none. So they just didn't go. So and it was probably a good night for them to choose not to go, as they lost the game 2-0, unfortunately. I have to say, having watched the game, I thought St Etienne were a tad unfortunate, I must admit. They had some very good chances. Beric was particularly wasteful. He had a couple of golden opportunities that he fluffed. Losing their captain Romain Hamouma early on to injury didn't help, although bringing on Tanan was a decent sort of switch. He did provide a little bit of extra spice on that wide positions for St Etienne. But yeah, they created chances but just couldn't take them, and they were hit with sort of two classic sucker punches. Lyon playing in this sort of 3-5-1-1 formation that they've started to develop, with Valbuena in behind Fekir, and it was Fekir's delicious cross, absolutely brilliant cross from the right hand side, and it was met by the Spaniard Sergi Darder for the opener just 4 minutes before half time, and that kind of killed St Etienne, who'd been on top for long periods of that first half as well. And then the classic scenario, 1-0 up with a couple of minutes to play, St Etienne pushed men forward, and Rachid Ghazal, who'd come on as a substitute actually himself, escaped the clutches of the St Etienne defence and crashed home the second goal in 88th minute, so last minute of the game near enough, and the points will stay in Lyon. Good togetherness from Lyon. There was quite a few of their players, including Jallet and Lacazette, Clement Grenier, the injured players, all stood in the tunnel waiting to greet the players after the final whistle. A lot of togetherness in that team. They seem to be starting to get back to the form that they need to be in to motor up the table. And yeah, the thing is with Lyon is it's just how much of a run they can put together, and they'll be hoping they can get Lacazette back fit during this international break, and of course pray that they don't lose Fekir to any more injuries, because there's signs, dare I say it, that he's coming back, and it's great to see because he's a hell of a player. Yeah,
they've got a lot of players out injured, haven't they? So don't know if they can make a title push. Still early days, I suppose, but if they get those players back, especially Lacazette, as you say, then they've definitely got an outside chance. I know our friend Lana will be happy, who was on the Satchel.
Yes,
with you
indeed.
On Thursday.
Yeah.
I say thank you again for Lana for filling in for me. I couldn't do that, and I believe she got your English breakfast co-host Ross to watch the game.
Yes, she did. Yes, Ross is quite famous for being a fan of the Championship and English football. He's very much a sort of an English gentleman, if you will. That's what I should call him. But no, Lana managed to coax him after we'd finished recording into watching a Lyon game. And Ross actually said if there was any of the leagues he'd like to watch, it's the French league. So well done, Ross. I don't know if he was just trying to butter me up, but he said he'd watched Lyon and he seems very impressed. So maybe. Just maybe we'll maybe convert Ross to European football if it kills us. But yes, fair play to Lana to getting him to watch, and I think he was quite impressed. So good on Ross.
Yeah, he's just after a raise. Anyway, moving swiftly on. That liveless statement. Do you want to run down the rest of the results from the weekend for us?
Yes, certainly will. So Friday night, Rennes, last-minute winner against Guingamp. Dicaby got the winner. It was the opening game of the weekend, so good result for Rennes, much needed. PSG, 2-0 victory, so back to winning ways for them. 2 more goals for Edinson Cavani, who people keep reminding me is suddenly on a scoring streak. All I'll say is I'll just remind you to look at the teams he's scoring goals against. Lille 1-0 winners over Nancy, the Euro 2016 hero Eder with the penalty winner there. Dijon 3-3, no muster jokes this week, I promise, with Montpellier. Hat-trick for Casimir Ninga, who you'll remember from last season, John.
Yes.
Quite the fan of. I think he's going to be quite the talent. Well, he got another 3, and also the young man Lois Diony that I mentioned last week that I said I fancy might be quite good this season. He got another goal as well. Van den Bora and Riviere with the last-minute equaliser for Dijon there. So good result that for them at home. Nantes, much needed victory for them. Stepinski with the winner against Bastia, and Caen also another big result for them, really important. Santini's penalty beat Toulouse by 1-0. And then on Sunday, the only other game was Angers 1, Marseille 1. Florian Thauvin with the opener for Marseille, and Philippe Capel with the equaliser for Angers. Capel, he being the one, John, if you remember rightly last season, Pierrick Capel, I always call him Philippe, I always get that confused, but he was the chap who scored that absolute worldie last season from distance when he sort of took a touch, flicked that for himself and crashed it over from 20 yards. Do you remember?
Yes, I remember, yeah.
And then went off with a bleeding toe because he kicked the bottom of the guy's boot, yeah. So, it wasn't quite as spectacular, but good goal for him. Good little player, actually. He's 29 now, so he's getting up there in years, but still a good talent, and good result for Angers.
Yeah, very good. Now, obviously, we have an international break coming up, so I won't ask you for a game to watch next week, but just want to give us the table as we go into the break. Yes,
absolutely. So Nice are top on 20 points from their 8 games played. Monaco second, 19 from the same. And PSG are third. It's bizarre, isn't it? Seeing they're now on 16 points, so 4 points adrift. Toulouse, Lyon, Bordeaux, Rennes and Metz make up the top 8 with St Etienne, Guingamp, Bastia and Angers down to 8 from 9th to 12th. Marseille floundering in 14th. Dijon just up the table this week at their point, 15th. Nantes and Montpellier 16th and 17th respectively. And then in the bottom 3, you've still got some fairly good sides there. Nancy, maybe not surprisingly, a bottom promoted side. Lorient, Boo, second bottom on 6 points. And Lille, they're off the bottom this week. They'll be happy with that, but only 7 points from their 8 games played. They are third bottom and struggling.
There we go. I think that's everything from Liga this week.
Absolutely, yes. No major news this week. No sackings that I'm aware of. So let's keep it that way, please, because it just adds to my confusion if there's people sacked. Right. Okay. Let's move it on then, and we're going to go. We're going to do our best to help Drew out here and focus on our German section. And I shall come over to you, John, for this. It is this week's German Bundesliga. Right, John. So we're going to sort of fudge our way through. I think between us we've seen a few bits and bobs of Bundesliga this week. The first game I want to highlight is probably the highlight game of the week, in fact, which was the game between Borussia Dortmund, who travelled to Bayer Leverkusen. A 2-0 victory for Leverkusen. What's your sort of take on this result? What do you think it means? Because it's a game that Dortmund have not only scored in, but were largely outplayed for long periods of time. So is this one going to be? Is this sort of going to open up the floodgates with the potential for Leverkusen to be in that top mix of clubs?
Yeah, it's strange because I think everyone before the game expected Dortmund to win this, and quite comfortably. They'd been scoring, pretty much free reign very easily. They'd had you'd say a decent result against Madrid as well in the Champions League. They would have liked to win, obviously, but you're still playing Real Madrid and it's still impressive. So for Leverkusen to win, and to win by 2 clear goals and quite convincingly, was really a surprise. The goals from Mehmedi and Hernandez, Çalhanoğlu with the assist for both of them. The thing that it's not surprising for Leverkusen to win games. It's the fact they don't do it more often, to be honest. Because when you look at the team and the squad of players they've got, and the manager as well, Roger Schmidt, they should be doing better. And they're definitely good enough to compete for one of the Champions League spots. So maybe this will give them a little boost, and maybe they can take this sort of form into the next coming games and try and get themselves up the table. So certainly good enough. The thing that's exciting about the Bundesliga this season is normally you look at it and go, okay, well, Bayern Munich are title favourites, and Dortmund, maybe you'll be able to challenge them, and then there's one or two teams that are there, to try and fight out for the other Champions League spot. But this season, there seems to be a lot. Hertha have started great again. Dortmund obviously doing very well. FC Köln doing surprisingly well. RB Leipzig as well. Obviously, new boys in the league, looking like they can really mix it with the big boys. My guys, Gladbach, not the best at the moment, but they can challenge. So it's really open for that competition for the other Champions League spots, and it makes it really exciting.
Yeah, it's good to see, as you say, other teams sort of beating each other, and I think everyone's sort of second team in Germany is Dortmund. Just, I don't know if it's the kit or whether it's a tradition or the style of play, but it's a big result for Leverkusen, who had been sort of a bit patchy so far this season, but they're two wins and a draw in the last 3. They're creeping up the table. So,
I think the one issue that Dortmund do have is the age of the team. I think overall it's a very, very young side. So there are going to be games maybe where they don't perform to the level that they are capable of, just because of that little bit of inexperience.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. But good result, nevertheless, for Leverkusen, and we will move on to our second game in this weekend in Germany, which was Bayern Munich and Cologne. Now, if I said to you pre-game, Bayern Munich had run out comfortable 3, 4, 5-0 winners, you'd probably say to me, oh yeah, I saw that coming. But if I said to you that they drew 1-1 with Cologne, you'd probably be a bit more surprised. So what do you think this result is down to? Is it purely because Cologne were excellent on the day? Has to be said. They pushed Bayern Munich all the way, but Bayern were knocked themselves against Atletico midweek. It's another result that's not gone their way. So do you think this sort of result will give others hope, and is there a genuine title race on this season?
It's really tough to tell, because obviously Ancelotti's come in and he's got a great side to work with, but they've had the last couple of seasons under Pep, who was very demanding, not just in the Champions League but in the league as well, and every single game he wanted to go out and win. And obviously I'm not saying Ancelotti doesn't have that attitude, but he's not as the attention to detail isn't there as much, and I don't think he's as quite a hard a taskmaster as Pep is. Lots of people have said how the players look visibly a lot more relaxed, and the atmosphere around the club is a lot more relaxed, which the players may like. But I think when you get to games like this is the sort of game maybe last season that Bayern might still have struggled a little bit in, because FC Köln, don't take it away from them, they played very, very well in the game. But Pep would have just had that little bit of extra drive and motivation out of the players maybe to get them over the line. I'm not sure Ancelotti has that same ability as a manager. He's a very, very good man manager, but you can see from his league record it's not the best. What he excels at is cup competitions, and in particular in Europe. So I think if you add all those things together and the few years they've had under Pep and how tiring that probably was, I think, it does open things up. And if they keep dropping the odd points here and there, then there's definitely a chance for a title race. The only thing that may actually help Bayern is, as we just talked about, how more open those spots for the Champions League are. That whereas Dortmund would normally accrue most of their points against all the other teams quite comfortably, now it's a bit more of a challenge because everyone else has upped their game. So that may make the league season a bit easier for Bayern. But excellent result for Köln, and Neuer's face when Modeste scored the goal was absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you saw the goal he scored.
I did, yeah.
Just the cross in, and then just getting his sort of like weird kind of hook shot. Neuer dived one way, the ball went the other, and just complete confusion and just the terror on his face as it went in. He really didn't know what had happened. But Modeste in great form as well.
A curious case of Anthony Modeste, who could not score for Toffee in France. He's gone to Germany and all of a sudden is doing well. And another goal for Joshua Kimmich as well. He's really in form for Bayern. So maybe stick him up front. I don't know. Just very briefly, do you think there's any concerns about Robert Lewandowski's form? I mean, he doesn't seem to be. It's hard to say that he's not in form because he's had a period of, obviously, the Euros he wasn't quite at it, and he is obviously a world-class striker. He'll come good, but is it just a few signs that all is not right, do you think, from his performances as much as anything else?
I'm not sure I'd read too much into it. Strikers always have dip in form, that happens. There is obviously a change of system. Ancelotti does like to get most of his goals through one player. You've seen that in many clubs he's been at, whereas when it was with Pep, Lewandowski's goal scoring record wasn't as good, as high as it had been at previous clubs, but it was because the goals were more spread out through the team, and it was a team effort of getting as many goals as possible. So that might have something to do with it. The one issue I do think that Bayern have had a little bit is perhaps in defence. Javi Martinez did not look convincing at all at centre-back, and I'm not sure you can play him and Hummels next to each other. It just seems a little bit too slow for me, I guess, especially against certain lineups. So that might be something that they have to address. But I wouldn't worry about Lewandowski. He's proven his talent time and time again. So it's just a little dip in form.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so look at our third game then, and this one was not good for you. Schalke finally deciding to turn up. They've had a pretty, wretched start to the season. I think it's fair to say that really have been struggling in the Bundesliga until recent events where they decided to put away your Gladbach side by 4-0. And I was watching this game, and it was really bizarre because it was 0-0 for a long period, and there wasn't a lot happening. I mean, there was the odd chance and good football and whatnot, but it was quite quiet. And then all of a sudden, second half, it just went crazy for sort of 10 minutes. Maxim Choupo-Moting with a penalty on 52 minutes, which was very much a penalty. Breland Bolo, the big signing, getting a goal in 56. Leon Goretzka making it 3 in 58. So for those counting the minutes, that's 3 goals in 6 minutes. And that was that for Gladbach, I think it's fair to say. And Embolo also notching a fourth with 7 minutes to play, and then celebrating by covering his ears because he's had quite a lot of stick from the Schalke fans, and it was almost his way of saying, yeah, just let me get on with my job. Just want to ask you about Schalke. I mean, do you think this is what it took, or this is what it will take for them to snap this sort of wretched run of form? I mean, it was 4-5 defeats straight coming into this game. 5 defeats out of 5, and then this game they've turned it around to 1-4. So I mean, is it as straightforward as that for them to click into gear now?
For their sake, I hope so. Obviously, I didn't enjoy the game.
Funny that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone doubted the ability of the players in the squad. It was, I don't know, it was sort of like a mental block. it's a weird trait around Europe of big clubs and them failing to achieve what they should be able to do. They're slightly Inter Milan-esque in that they spent lots of money and had so many big name players, and each manager comes in and then has to get rid of the dregs that he doesn't want, and brings in new people, and they don't work out. Then that manager's gone, and someone else comes in and is left with that same mess. And I think we said a while ago that Weinzel, if he's left in charge for a long enough period, then he can solve the problems the club has got. Gladbach weren't at their best that day, I think it's fair to say, and Schalke were excellent. It was a very short period that they got the goals, but if you get them, then that's good enough. For all the possession that Gladbach had in the game, they didn't take any advantages with it. The efforts that they did have, they didn't put away, and Schalke did. So they took full advantage of that. I think I doubt you're going to get this performance week in, week out from Schalke, because they are so hit and miss, but they're capable of it. They've just got to do it consistently now, and just do when they do simple things and don't try to over elaborate, then they'll get the results, and you kind of saw that in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really weird to look at the statistics of this game. Gladbach has 72% possession, 12 shots to 15 from Schalke, 4 on target. Pass completion was higher for Gladbach. Tackles 1 was higher. It's a really strange result, isn't it, when you look at it like that? But nevertheless, good result for Schalke, and we shall watch with interest as to what happens with them in the future. I still think Europa League is their best hope for winning something this season, but we shall see. Right, what else happened in the other results from this weekend then?
Okay, on the Friday night, RB Leipzig got another win yet again, 2-1 home win against Augsburg. Hertha, another win, 2-0 at home against Hamburg. Ingolstadt lost 2-1 at home to Hoffenheim. Darmstadt drew 2-2 with Werder Bremen. Freiburg got a 1-0 win at home against Eintracht Frankfurt. And Wolfsburg played out a very dull 0-0 against Mainz.
Yes, very much. I enjoyed the Bremen game, I must admit. I did see that one at the weekend. That was a decent 2-2, but other than that, yeah. Agreed. Where does that leave us in the table then?
Well, at the top, Bayern Munich, 16 points, just 3 points behind them. Hertha at the moment, up into second. Dortmund in third on 12, tied with Köln, also on 12, and RB Leipzig, the new boys, all the way up into fifth. Leverkusen jump up into sixth on 10, tied with Hoffenheim, Frankfurt, and Gladbach. And then you've got Freiburg, Mainz, Augsburg, Wolfsburg and Darmstadt all the way down to 14th. Bottom two, Hamburg, Ingolstadt just above them, Schalke just creeping out there in the playoff place, and Werder Bremen just above them.
Superb. So again, we do have potentially a title race in Germany. For how long is anyone's guess, but let's hope for the best. Okay, good stuff. Right, no sackings in Germany that I'm aware of, I don't think.
No. As far as I think we covered that last week, didn't we? Yeah.
Yes, indeed we did. Yes, the Labadia sacking. So hopefully everything else is all quiet in Germany. So good stuff. Right, as usual, Drew will be available for questions when he gets time. So if you want to hit him up on Twitter, I think that's what the kids say, and please do, and he'll do his best to answer any questions. And yes, we will. I think we actually had one question come in for tonight, which was Bundesliga related, so I'll do my best to answer it. I think it's got Gladbach in it, John. So in fact, I tell you what, should we ask that now, because it's actually quite relevant.
Yeah,
so before we leave Germany, let's answer it now. It was from Shakaresk, who's asked us two questions. He said, can Schalke use their big win over Gladbach to rise up, or was it just a one-off? So we've mentioned, is it their springboard? But do you think it is a one-off? Like, if you had to put money on it, would you say that Schalke are still going to be up and down the next few weeks, or do you think that this is the start of something?
I think they might be up and down in terms of results for a few weeks, but I just cannot see a club that size. I know they're obviously down there at the moment, they've only got 3 points, but I can't see them battling for relegation all season. I know the Bundesliga is very tough, and it's more of a you either win or you lose kind of league. You don't often get draws there, or if you do, they're big scoring draws. I just think the team's too good to not climb up the table. They've got too many good players. So they might still get the odd, dodgy, funky result here and there. Like being at home and losing to an Ingolstadt or something like that. Not a great one, but I just think the team's too good not to climb up the table.
Yeah, fair point. Good question, that Shagger. Thanks very much. It's weird how we kind of almost answered that without even realising we'd asked that question. So, thank you as always. Right, we're going to move on then and switch gears once again. And this is my opportunity to hopefully do Tom proud. We're going to cover Spain next, and it's La Liga.
Right, La Liga time. We will start off with Valencia and Atletico. Valencia, their new manager, in the stands watching this game, Cesare Prandelli. I'm sure we'll come on to him in a little bit. But how did they get on?
Yeah, it's a really weird game, this, because it was one of those games that I always miss because it's like the early morning game in Spain, so it's kind of played early on in the day. So I did miss it, but I managed to catch the highlights, and it was a game that featured 2 penalty saves as well, no less. Diego Alves has quite the record when it comes to stopping penalties. I think it's something like 25, 26 odd saves in 40
something
odd
weird.
pens.
Oh, this was the game with the ridiculous penalty save in it, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So, to put you in perspective, Nani with the foul from behind. I believe it was I think it's on Correa from memory. Penalty was awarded, and up stepped big Antoine Griezmann, and he thought, oh yeah, fine. And Diego Alves made an absolutely stunning penalty save to his right. Really was a stunning save. It was a good penalty actually, but pulled it right out the top drawer. And things were looking good then. You thought Valencia can go on from this, but wouldn't you know it, Griezmann himself taking advantage of some poor defending on 62 minutes and fired Atletico in front. A little bit unfortunate. There's a good save. I think it's Torres produced a save from Alves, and it was recycled, and Griezmann crashed home the opener. So decent goal. And Atletico 1-0 up, and then into the second half, Griezmann was fouled himself. In later part of the second half, I should say. And there's another penalty awarded. Yes, you thought surely this time, having saved one, he can't save two, can he? Yes, he can. Gavi's penalty, not the best, in fairness, but Alves once again pulling out a low stop to his left, and the score remained 1-0 until Kevin Gamero, formerly of Lorient, God bless him, please come back, Kevin, skipped inside 2 defenders and drilled the ball inside the near post, and that was game, set and match. That was 90th minute, so Valencia obviously caught with players upfield. It was the classic players racing back, trying to stop a striker as he ran through, falling over themselves, and Atletico coming away with a 2-0 victory. And as you say, Prandelli, the new man in Valencia. Now, who better to ask than your good self, because you know a little bit more than the most about Prandelli as far as the Italian game goes. So is it a bit of an odd appointment for you, do you think?
I don't think it's an odd appointment. I thought Valencia's last 2 appointments were the odd ones, to be honest. They've had 2 guys in who, have never really been a manager. Neither of them have been manager, and they're now bringing in someone. Okay, he hasn't managed in Spain, obviously, but very successful in Italy. He's been at some big clubs. He was at Roma. Unfortunately, had to leave because his wife was very ill, and it cut short his managerial stint there. But did amazing things at Fiorentina. Got them to a Champions League qualification a few times. In one particular year, after the match fixing scandal, I should say, Fiorentina were one of the teams docked points, and he started the season with minus 15 points. And that season, he still managed to get them up to qualify for the Champions League. With those points deduction. He's done really good things. The Italian national team, after the dip they had after the World Cup win in 2006, definitely improved them with a very much a transitional side, ageing team. You saw how well they did in the previous couple of tournaments, and a lot of that was off his hard work. So I think it's good for Valencia because I think Tom said a number of times, they've got good players at the club. There's no reason for them to be performing the way they are. It just seems like it's just a bad atmosphere and a really bad setup. I think having a real manager in who's got that much experience, hopefully for them, he can actually drill them properly and get something out of them because they're good enough to be much higher up in the league than they are.
Yeah, you look at that squad, and there is, as you say, there's enough players there you'd think to get some sort of a result from what they're performing. But right now, they're not performing. So in that case, you just have to wait and see how it settles, I guess. But we will be across it. I'm sure Tom will be across it as well, and see how Valencia do. But we'll move on to another game, shall we?
Yeah, now this would be the surprise result of the weekend, were it not for another match, but it was still a surprise anyway. Real Madrid at home to lowly Eibar, and what 1-1? What?
I know, bizarre, wasn't it? I think I'm right in saying this is the first point that a Basque side has ever claimed away to Real Madrid. I think I'm right in saying that. If I'm wrong, then I apologise, but I'm sure that's right. But yeah, they were in front. Fran Rico with the opener from a header. Real Madrid, I watched quite a lot of this, and the thing with Real, the one thing you'd always say is they always give you a chance. They always seem to give you a chance, no matter where you're playing, home or away. Defensively, never ever convinced me, and so it was again. It was awful marking for the opening goal, and I actually thought I think it was Keylor Navas was in goal, should have done a lot better with it, but it was a very very decent header, and Eibar were in front. And Real Madrid equalised through Gareth Bale, predictably. And, you did think, well, once they've equalised, that'll be it. They'll go on and win the game. But it wasn't to be. It's a good cross from James, actually. And Bale rising at the back post and the goalkeeper doing his very best, but couldn't do the old starfish routine and keep it out. And the keeper went on to make a few other saves. There was a late chance for Morata, who was flagged offside. Not really sure. It was a tight decision, but he was furious. I don't think it was that tight. And then Morata himself, the most terrible dive you've ever seen, trying to get a penalty. The keeper was nowhere near him. It really, really was a terrible attempt to win a penalty, and he was rightly criticised for it. And then the late chance for Gareth Bale heading against the post, but Real Madrid couldn't get the winner. So it is a big surprise. It definitely is a big surprise. This, you expect Real Madrid to win at home. Magnificent point for Eibar though, and credit has to go to the smaller side, and more trouble for Real Madrid. I think Zidane was asked if Real Madrid were in crisis this weekend. I believe he said no, they're not in crisis, but they need to start winning games and fast, particularly with the game we're going to come on to next and the result of that one.
Yeah, very surprising result. And speaking of the other game, wow, Celta Vigo 4, Barcelona 3. I'll let you go at it.
Yeah, well, I was watching St Etienne at the time. I must confess, so I had to catch up on this later on in the day. But I did. You do that thing where you flick over and have a look at other scores. And as I was cursing Inter, I thought, I'll quickly have a look at Barcelona. And I turned over; they were 3-0 down. I thought, crikey! And I'd heard all the pundits say, and listening to Graham Hunter and Guillaume Balaguer and a few other people sort of saying that this was a difficult task for Barcelona. They don't have a good record in Celta, and so it proved once again. But the ease that Celta took them apart, particularly in that first half, was painful. And the first 3 goals were just such poor defending from Barcelona, and it wouldn't be the first time to say that, would it? Barcelona poor defensively. I mean, we all know what they can do going forwards, but I've heard a lot of people say that Piqué is one of the best defenders in the world. I'm not buying that for a second. I just don't think he is. He's good at scoring goals. He got 2 in this game, in fact. But as far as defensively, I'm not convinced. And they also massively miss Samuel Umtiti, who's obviously signed from Lyon in the summer and is a massive hit already with the Barcelona fans. And he's not in the side, which meant they had to play Jeremy Mathieu, who had a bit of a shocker. He scored an own goal in the process, and a game was run absolutely ragged. Sisto, Aspas and Mathieu own goal was 3-0, and it looked like game over. Barcelona did put up a fight though. In the second half, they came in at 3-0 down. Piqué got that first goal back after 58 minutes, and then Neymar scored a penalty on 64. And you thought, hello, what's going to happen next? But luckily for Celta, they managed to get the next goal, which was very very decent goal from Hernandez. And yeah, you sort of thought a 4-2, okay, job done. And then wouldn't you know it, Piqué pops up again on the 87th minute, gets one more back, and game over. I should say the Hernandez finish. Ter Stegen, have you seen this goal?
I haven't seen it, no.
Well, basically, I suppose I'm probably being a little bit rich to say it's a decent goal. Ter Stegen basically just kicks it against Hernandez. It's just the most bizarre. You've seen a bit of Ter Stegen in your time, I would imagine. Yeah. I think he's not a bad goalkeeper, but it's just. I don't even know really what he's trying to do. It's a pass back sort of from the right hand touch line. He takes a touch, and then he tries to do that just a clip, where you just clip it over a defender's head.
Yeah.
But he's got no right to do it. And he just hits Hernandez, and into the net it goes. So to say it's a good goal, I mean, I think it's a good goal because Hernandez pressures him and causes the error, but it's just comical, absolutely comical.
It's funny because there was I can't remember if it was Squawker or someone. I don't think it was Squawker, but it might have been someone. One of those sort of football Twitter accounts was talking about Ter Stegen and giving him a run out in front of in either at centre back or just in front of the defence, playing as the midfielder because he's so good with his feet.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of the things he does with the ball, and he is very impressive with his feet, especially for a goalkeeper. And it was sort of this, Biscuits is missing, and a couple of other midfielders, so why not just put him out there? It'll be fine. You can chuck Sillison in goal or whatever.
Yes, he probably would have done a better job. But it comes back to the whole argument: do you want your goalkeeper to save shots, or do you want him to be good with passing? And Sillison's not exactly convincing either. So it was just comical. If you haven't seen it, listeners, do look it up. But a good result for Celta. Let's not sort of dismiss them in any way, shape, or form. It's a bigger result for Barcelona, as in the defeat. But full credit to Celta, and they continue their excellent record.
Yep. Do you want to run down the rest of the results from the weekend for us?
Yes, indeed I shall, as he frantically searches for them, because I've just clicked off the wrong page. Right, so we had the opening game of the weekend, Sociedad beating Betis by 1-0. Carlos Vela, you'll know him well. He of the takeaways. He got the 63rd minute winner in that game. Granada and Leganés, 1-0 victory for Leganés. More on Granada in a moment. Szymanowski, try saying that when you've had a few pints. He got the winner for Leganés, big result for that. Sevilla with a 2-1 victory over Alaves. Goals from Wissam Ben Yedder, including a 90th minute winner after Alaves had equalised with 6 minutes to go. Osasuna 2, Las Palmas 2. Las Palmas continue to have a good season. They were 2-0 down in this game, but got 2 goals, one again in the equaliser from David Garcia in the 90th minute plus. Sporting Gijón losing to Deportivo La Coruña. Goals there. Borges and a winner from Babel in the 90th minute. You've got to love that. And that is the Babel of the Ryan persuasion. Remember him, Ryan Babel?
Look, Ryan Babel, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Is he not like 40 now? Jesus.
Do you know what? I'm going to check this because I'm intrigued. But he's still playing. He's
been
29.
around forever. Really?
29. Yep, 29 years old.
Blimey.
And the former Liverpool and Ajax man popping up with a 90th minute winner for Deportivo. So good on him. And then on the Sunday, the other 2 games we haven't touched on, Espanyol 0, Villarreal 0. It was dreadful. I watched it. I wish I hadn't bothered. And Malaga 2, Athletic Bilbao 1. That was a decent game, actually. And 2 goals in a minute, winning it late on for Malaga. Adariz put Bilbao in front. Balenciaga, I just butchered that, was sent off for Bilbao in the 36th minute. And then Sandro Ramirez and Duda, 2 goals, as I say, the 82nd and 83rd minute get winners. And Kone sent off late on for Malaga as well. So good turnaround victory for them late on.
Very good. Do you want to run through the table and any news we have?
Yes, sure. Atletico Madrid then top, joint with Real Madrid, 15 points from their 7 played. Sevilla are third now, decent from Sampaoli's men, 14 points. Barcelona are fourth, bizarrely, on 13 points, level with Villarreal, who are fifth. Bilbao, despite their defeat, stays sixth. Las Palmas, Eibar, Sociedad and Celta Vigo rising up the table in 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. Leganés, the promoted side, 11th. Good start to their season, as it indeed it is for Alaves, who are 12th. Deportivo, Malaga, Betis, Gijón, and Espanyol make up the bottom end of the table, with Valencia, Osasuna and Granada in the bottom 3. And Granada, that's your news for you. Coach is gone. Paco Gémez was sacked by Granada, and the coach, Luis Planaguma, I think that's how you pronounce it, is taken over temporarily. So Thomas informed me of that. So, yeah, troubled times for Granada, who, am I right in saying they're part of the Watford Udinese franchise, aren't they?
Yes, the Pozzo family.
The Pozzo family, yes, indeed. So, so expect in January to see a whole host of Watford and Udinese players switching to Spain in a bid to keep them in the in La Liga. So, yeah, tough times for Granada. Only 2 points from their first 7 games.
Yeah. Not good, not good, not good at all. I suspect the Pozzo family are slightly more interested in the money in the Premier League.
I think you might be right.
It might be a reason why. I think that's it for La Liga this week.
Yes, indeed. And thank you to Tom for his notes again. And if you do have any questions for Tom, again, look him up on the Twitter. And I'm sure he'll be happy to answer any questions that you have ahead of hopefully him being back next week. Righto then, John. Just the one league to go from our regular segment then. We're going to come across to you for this week's Italian roundup in Serie. Right then, we're going to start with a game I watched actually, John. The very impressive Lazio, who defeated Udinese and in the process cost a gentleman his job. Tell us about it.
Yep, a nice comfortable 3-0 win for Lazio. They don't normally score that many away from home, so a little bit surprising. Udinese haven't been in great form this season, to be fair. Goals from Immobile. He got 2 in the game. First one from a corner. Little Milinkovic-Savic head on to him. Immobile in really good form, got himself a call back into the Italian national team. Udinese could only really manage a couple of chances in the first half. Badu probably with the best one for them, but his shot was charged down. Second goal for Lazio was from the young man Keita. Lovely little through ball from Anderson to make it 2-0. As I said, Immobile got the third, so he got his brace. Nice little back heel from Lulic in the build-up for that. But really comfortable win for them. Good result. Immobile getting the goals, good form. But yes, poor old Beppe Iacchini finally been sacked from Udinese. Not massively surprising. Hasn't been going great there for him. Luigi Del Neri is rumoured to be the next coach. Excuse me. But yeah, not really good for Udinese. 7 points all season. Already out of the Coppa Italia as well. To Spezia, so a lower league opposition. So. Not the biggest surprise in the world, has got to be said.
No, is it Inzaghi that's managing Lazio now? It is, isn't it?
Yes.
Or is it Montella? I always get confused.
Montella is at Milan.
Of course he is. Of course he is. Yeah, similar hair. Yeah. They really impressed me. I've got to be honest. I thought Lazio really good, really good. I don't know whether it's because Udinese was so poor. Maybe a bit of both, but it looked like the Lazio that I remember from the good old days. You know, they were free flowing, they moved the ball well. I like Milinkovic-Savic, but no, I just thought they looked really, really decent, and it's kind of good to see a team of that level coming back, isn't it? Even if it is, slow progress, but it's nice to see them.
Yeah, he hasn't had the best time there in Inzaghi at Lazio, but it's we've said it a couple of times. It's a very young team, and they have the older players aren't pulling their weight as much as they should do, or hadn't been in previous games, and they had some serious injury problems this season as well. Some of their big names have been out. Biglia, noticeably, one of the most experienced pros in their team. So good to see. They're very exciting when it clicks, because they are very free flowing and one of the better teams to watch when they're really at it. But yeah, they need to find a bit more consistency. But yeah, we shall see what happens with Udinese, and I imagine if it is going to be Del Neri, then that will all be announced in the next few days, confirmed.
Yeah, not a good week for the Pozzo family then, is it? A busy week, nevertheless. We will move on to another game then, and Atalanta hosted Napoli. I think if you just said pre-game this was going to be sort of a close encounter, a very, very low-scoring game, I would have said, no, I'm not sure. Surely it would be a decent, free-flowing attacking game and it would be lots of goals. But it ended up with just one goal, and it probably wasn't the way most people would have expected it to have gone.
Yeah, Napoli's first defeat of the season, losing 1-0 to Atalanta. Very surprising. Napoli I don't know what was wrong with them. They just really weren't at it. Their best chance probably was Insigne free kick early on, inside 10 minutes, that just went wide of the post, and then after that they just kind of fell to bits, and it wasn't long after that Atalanta took the lead. Gomez, who was brilliant throughout the game for Atalanta down the left-hand side, really, really good. He battled to keep the ball alive and just crossed it in, and Patenga, a young man who I hadn't seen much of, has just been called up to the Italian under-21s team. He misjudged the flight of the ball, actually, Koulibaly was completely underneath it, was totally out of position, and Gulam was behind Patanga, and I think he obviously assumed that Patanga was going to get on his head on it, which is the worst thing a defender can do, because you always want to anticipate that he misses it. Didn't do that. It hit him square in the face, bounced straight back in front of Patanga, who just went, "Thank you very much, I'll tap that in for a goal." So, yeah, a bit of poor defending there. There was a few more chances. Drame hit the crossbar, and Gomez was really, really good for Atalanta. Gabbiadini came closest for Napoli, coming on in the second half. Sort of tried to hook the ball back across goal, and it got cleared off the line. But that was it. That was honestly their best chance in the game. They just looked a bit tired, to be honest. Looked a bit tired out. Maybe the squad's been a little bit stretched with all the European games. But surprise result for Atalanta, because they're going to be scrapping down the bottom, I'd imagine, for most of the season. So really good 3 points for them to pick up. But yeah, Patanga will be a name to watch, I think, for the future.
Yes, it rolls off the tongue as well. Patanga, I like it. Good result, though, as you say, for Atalanta. And speaking of good results, Milan against Sassuolo usually produces goals. Looking back over the fixture, and 3-1 down after 56 minutes, you'd have to say a draw would have been a lovely result for Milan. They'd have gone home happy, and all would have been well. A win, however, even better. And weirdly, that's what they got.
Yeah, there's a reason why we skipped through the first two games kind of quickly, because there's 7 goals to talk about in this one. Yeah, Milan won 4-3. Crazy game. Opening goal from Bonaventura. Some good work down the left-hand side. He received the ball inside, took on a few players, had a shot. Got a bit lucky with a deflection, sent Consigli the wrong way, but deserved the leave nonetheless. And then almost immediately, Abate made a horrible error on the ball, just dawdling. Lost it on the edge of the own box, and Politano, who we've spoken about before, just pounced on that and made it 1-1. Really good finish from him. He still had a lot to do to get past 2 defenders and drew Donnarumma out of his goal and slid it underneath him. So very good finish for him. Ajangapong, whose name I've probably just horribly butchered, young Ghanaian man who I've only seen a little bit of, had a goal disallowed correctly for offside. Sorry, not offside, for handball. It was another goal that was offside. This is all still the first half, by the way. This is just 15 minutes in. Donnarumma then nearly gave a penalty away. He dawdled on the ball, and Politano gained some really good pressure, and Donnarumma basically essentially shoved him off, and probably should have been given a penalty for Sassuolo, but it wasn't given. Montella screaming from the sidelines for Milan. Donnarumma and other players then got himself sent off for dissent as well, so he watched the rest of the game up in the director's box. So got to half-time, 1-1. The Milanese fans a little bit confused. Milan were playing very well, and then all of a sudden, silly mistake from Abate, and it's 1-1. And then it all turned around for Sas. Brilliant set piece from a corner, just taken short, and the old trick of the defence is walking out one way and a tackle just walks past, completely beats the offside track. Pellegrini dink in for a Cherbe to finish like a striker, to be perfectly honest, not like a centre-back, so really good for him. And then Pellegrini himself got a lovely little 1-2 on the edge of the box, sent Gustavo Gomez the wrong way onto the floor and curled it into the bottom corner. 3-1 to Sas, completely cruising. Di Francesco's looking at a nice 3 points. And then the referee stepped in again. This time he did give a penalty when he probably shouldn't have. Niang got fouled allegedly in the box when it was actually him pulling on the Sassuolo defender's shirt. But it was given, and Bacca scored to make it 2-3, and Milan just clicked all of a sudden then. A very young man who you'll hear a lot about, Manuel Locatelli, just 18 years old, scored an absolute screamer. If you haven't seen it, do look it up. It's just a great goal. Clearance from a corner, he just volleys it first time. Absolute top bin. It's beautiful. Only 18. He's in absolute tears afterwards because he just doesn't know how to celebrate and how to take it. And then 3-3. I think, wow, what comeback that'll do. But no, a few minutes still to go. Niang crosses, and Paletta comes up with an absolutely huge header. He leaps. He's got to be a good 3-4 feet above everyone else in the box.
Such a good header, wasn't it?
Just brilliant, and made it 4-3. And then Sassuolo almost went up the other end. Politano, again, who'd been brilliant all game for Sas, produced a brilliant save from Donnarumma, who kept all 3 points for Milan. So, completely crazy game. I'd said earlier in the season, Milan look like they can score goals when they want to, and they proved it today, but their defence is still so shocking. They really need to sort that out. Sassuolo will be absolutely gutted though for it to be 3-1 up and then throw it away. That would have been an amazing result at the San Siro. Di Francesco didn't say very nice things about the referee after the game, understandably, because I think Milan's penalty was very soft. I think Sassuolo probably should have had a penalty, and there was a few bookings that could have been a little bit harsher maybe against a few Milan players, but they rode their luck and they got the result. Huge result for them and for Montella, and just trying to keep the Milan fans back on his side, because they turned very quickly at the San Siro, but to hear that stadium rocking, even as an Inter fan, I know it's Milan playing in there and not Inter for that game, it's really just nice to see that stadium full and actually people cheering for once.
Yeah, it really was, and magnificent, as you say, the young lad in tears. That's just an iconic image that will stay for a long time. I think it was. Superb.
His performances. It wouldn't surprise me if Montolivo doesn't star for as much as Milan for the rest of the season, because he wasn't on his best performance. And Locatelli, I hadn't heard much about, to be honest, but the Milan fans that I've spoken to on Twitter, they all been raving about him for a long time. Apparently he's sort of their next superstar player. Lots of people comparing him to Pirlo and other great midfielders already, so no pressure on him at all, obviously. But it wouldn't surprise me if you see a bit more of him this season, and if he keeps getting performances and getting on the score sheet, maybe we'll do a Hipsters Choice on him later on in the season.
Yes, he's on my list. I've got a very long list of players I want to do, and he is definitely on there. So, good shout, and definitely nice to see Gabriel Paletta finally giving up on the comb over, because a man with such little hair, it just shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Give us the other results from this weekend then.
Yeah, Pescara, unfortunately at home, lost 2-0 to Chievo. Empoli lost 3-0 to a travelling Juventus, Dybala and Higuain with 2 there. Bologna lost 1-0 at home to Genoa. Simeone again with a goal for Genoa in really good form. 3 sendings off in that game. Gastadello and Zamali for Bologna and Gentielli for Genoa. Cagliari, they got a win. It was against Crotone though, but they got a win. So 2-1 win. Our old friend Padawin with a goal there. Sampdoria and Palermo played out a 1-1 draw. Gazzi sent off for Palermo there. Torino with another win, 2-1 at home to Fiorentina. Very good result. And Roma beat Inter Milan 2-1. But we won't talk about that. So yeah.
No, let's not talk about that. We do have a question about that. Which again, well, why not? We've only got a few questions tonight, so let's just splice them into the pod as we go. So it was a game from our good pal Shakaresk. Why are Inter's midfield partnerships so bad? Like, seriously, none of them gel, and De Boer has to fix it up quick. Your thoughts?
It's very strange. Gary Medel you can't really take out of the team because he does so much work defensively and just shoring it up, and he is a real leader, and he's been at the club for quite a while, and I really like him. João Mario is still trying to find his feet there at the club. I'm not sure you get the best out of him when he's playing that deep though. Brozovic would play were it not for his conduct in training and the fact that De Boer really doesn't like him now, and I don't think he particularly wants him there anymore. And I don't think, to be fair, Brozovic actually wants to be at the club. I think he was promised a chance to leave and then was denied it last minute when they couldn't get replacement for him. Otherwise, I think he'd play. Felipe Melo can't be trusted, in my opinion, and Kondogbia just, as Frank De Boer, as we commented about last week, just doesn't listen. Apparently, so yeah, I don't think it's the only issue there. There is another issue with fullbacks. I thought Inter were decent in the game, to be fair. It could have finished 10-10, honestly, because it was end-to-end all game, which is very exciting from a neutral point of view, but defensively both teams were very poor. And the finishing wasn't great. Sadly for Inter, Icardi just wasn't quite on it for the day. The one shiny grace that's come out this season so far is how quickly Benegas fitted in and how well he's doing. And the one thing I'd say for Roma fans is, I tell you what, if someone can teach Mohamed Salah how to finish properly, you would absolutely hammer teams left, right and centre, because he's just the amount of times he got through and just wasted the opportunity. And also a shout as well for Handanovic and Szczesny in that game, because they pulled off some amazing saves.
Yeah, really that save from Szczesny, I don't know who it was from, but the one he turned around the post late on, that was a magnificent save, wasn't it? But we of course know as Arsenal fans, guilty. The thing with Szczesny is if you can get his attitude right and you can teach him how to not make rash errors, you've got a very good goalkeeper there, but it's getting him to do those other two things.
But as for the inter midfield, I think if Brozovic apologises or sorts out whatever the problems are and the issues are in training, because it's not really been clarified, but even people like Zanetti have come out and said that he was very unprofessional and was right to be dropped. So if they could sort those problems out, I think he'd help in the midfield a lot. And if Kondogbia would listen to De Boer, then I think you've also got a very good midfielder there. But they need to sort those issues out.
Yeah, lots of ifs. Thank you for the question there, Mr. Shakaras. We appreciate your time indeed. Right, okay, we'll leave Italy behind then, and indeed
would you not like the table quickly?
Oh no, yes, we'll do that before we leave Italy behind. Yes, how very dare me? How are we looking table-wise?
Surprise, Juventus are top, 18 points from the 7 games played. Napoli behind them on 14. Roma, Lazio and Chievo all on 13 points. As are Milan as well, all the way down to 6th. Inter lagging down in 9th. Cagliari also up into 10th, very good for them, for the newly promoted boys. Crotone, still bottom of the league, still just 1 point. Just above them, Empoli, Palermo and Pescara make up the bottom 4.
Good stuff. Okay, sort of pre-jumped the gun there, but
that's quite alright.
Super stuff. Okay, again, as we said on all the previous leagues, there's no game next week, so we won't bother picking one, because it's boring old international football. But it is Italy-Spain, isn't it? So
yes, it is.
Might be worth it. I think it's France-Holland as well, so some decent games maybe to have a look at if you get really bored, and you get bored of playing Scrabble. Anyway, international football, boo. Let's move on, and we'll leave our European leagues behind for another week, and we're going to transition into another league and see what's happening in America as we go to this week's Best of the Rest. Right, as I say, we're going to take a trip quickly into America and MLS. Not the MLS, because you get in trouble if you call it the MLS. So in MLS, we've got 2 games to go, John. It's all getting very exciting.
Playoff time, yeah?
Yes, for those of us that follow the playoffs, I'm not going to bother explaining how the playoffs work tonight because we'd be here till midnight. But yes, we are entering playoff territory. Just 2 games to go in both the Eastern and Western Conference. A few teams in the Western Conference have got games in hand, but overall, most teams have got 2 games left to play. Now, starting in the Eastern Conference, New York Red Bulls and New York City FC are both on 51 points. Exciting times. New York Red Bulls this weekend, they got a 3-2 victory, thrilling game actually, against Philadelphia Union. Very, very good game. I watched myself. 3-2. Sasha Klestin, our former Hipsters Choice of last week, he got the an opener. Bradley Wright Phillips, he always scores. Dax McCarthy with a winner there after Herbers and Pontius had scored for the Union. So good result for there. New York City FC, David Villa and all, they got the victory. And it kind of an important victory, this, because it was one of those games that you looked at and you thought, is this going to be a potential banana skin away at Houston Dynamo? But 2 goals from the aforementioned Villa secured the points. Toronto are close behind. They're only 2 points behind those other 2, TFC, but they lost ground this weekend. They're missing Giovinco, who'd have thought. 2-1 defeat at home to DC United, who I believe are Jimmy and Nguna's team. So 2 goals for Nagel there in that game, coming from behind after Altidore had put Toronto in front. Montreal Impact, DC United and Philadelphia Union are still sniffing to join them in the playoffs on 44, 43 and 42 points respectively. New England have still got a chance. They're only 3 points actually behind Philadelphia Union in 7th. It's going to be tough for them, but they still have a chance. They beat Sporting KC by 3-1 this weekend. Kai Kamara on the score sheet in that game. So they still do have a chance. Columbus Crew, Orlando City and Chicago Fire. Less said the better. I think it's probably going to be too much of an ask for those two teams now. Columbus Crew and Orlando City, 4 points behind New England, and then a further 3 behind Philadelphia Union. So I think it's probably going to be too little too late for them. In the Western Conference, Dallas, who've been pretty much the standout team of the Western Conference all season, they remain at top. They beat LA Galaxy by 1-0. Zimmerman, great name, with the winner over Galaxy, who are now third and out of the top 2 places. So that's not good for them. And Steven Gerrard is going to be off as well, so it gets worse for them. Colorado Rapids, or better, yeah, absolutely. Colorado Rapids, they beat the Portland Timbers, Danny's Portland Timbers, by 1-0. Leteau with the winner there, so the Rapids up to second in the table there. Good result for them. Real Salt Lake, Seattle Sounders, good result for the Sounders actually, a 2-1 victory over our good friend Jeff's Vancouver Whitecaps, unfortunately. Coming from behind again, Morales putting the Whitecaps in front. Alonso with an absolute cracker for Seattle Sounders, making it 1-1. And Morales was sent off for Vancouver Whitecaps. That changed the game, and a late Brad Evans penalty won it for the Sounders, who have just hit form at the right time. 4 straight victories for them. That takes them up into 5th, and Sporting KC, as we say, hanging on 6th. The Timbers have still got a chance. They're down in 7th. That's, of course, last year's MLS Cup champions. So they've got an uphill task to make the playoffs, but they can do it. The Earthquakes, Vancouver Whitecaps and Houston Dynamo, tough for them. I can't see those 3 teams making up the points necessary. And just looking ahead to the fixtures upcoming, these games are going to be played. You've got a game on the 9th of October, which is this coming Sunday, which is Dynamo against Colorado Rapids. Despite the international break, MLS continues, although not as frequently. So the next games after that, you've got the 13th of October. The Sounders play the Dynamo, Chicago Fire face Columbus Crew, Colorado Rapids face the Earthquakes, and then Chicago Fire play again. So it's two games in 2 days for the Fire. Nuts. They play New England on the 16th. And you've also got DC United, New York City FC, so New York City FC away, Montreal Impact, Toronto, New York Red Bulls, Columbus Crew, Philadelphia Union, Orlando City, Dallas versus the Sounders. Do not miss that one. That could be very good. Dynamo Galaxy, Timbers, Colorado Rapids, Salt Lake, Sporting KC, Earthquakes, Vancouver Whitecaps. So they are your next set of fixtures. And then after that, only 1 round to go. So it's all getting tight in America, and good to see David Villa is top of the goal scoring charts, by the way. Who'd have thought, 21 goals. Bradley Wright Phillips is also up there with 21 goals, so you'll be happy to know John Giovinco 16 goals this season.
Tom McCants still got it, mate.
Oh yes, you gotta love him. So yes, we will be keeping in touch with MLS. We had a few requests from a few of our listeners about talking MLS again. So there you go. That's it answered. And of course, when we get to the playoffs, or that we know the outcome of the playoffs, which will be in 2 weeks' time, we'll probably take another trip back into MLS and let you know who made it and who didn't. Right, there we go. Okay then, let's move on and let's talk about another player who we're going to put into our fine collection of people to watch. Here's this week's Hipsters Choice. Right, this week we're going to go to Spain. It's a shame Tom couldn't make tonight, actually, because we have decided to take a trip to a player who's just joined La Liga. He's a Brazilian, no less, and this week's Hipster's Choice is Paulo Henrique Ganso. So what do we know about Paulo Henrique Ganso? Well, he is Sevilla's newest signing. He's the number 19 for Sevilla, and he is a Brazilian international. He was born on October the 12th, 1989, making him 26 years of age, born in Anamineda in Brazil. I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be awfully wrong. He's 6 foot dead, 1 meter 84. He's 73 kilograms, 156 pounds. He's a left-footed striker of the football, and he plays in the midfield in the central area, mostly in the number 10 role, pulling the strings, and he is a client of Nike wearing their Magista. You can find him on Twitter at phganso, and indeed the same handle on Instagram. We will of course post some highlights of his updated bits and bobs that he's been doing recently in the coming days. So what do we know about him? Well, Ganso was first came to the attention of the former Brazilian great Giovanni, remember him, who recruited him to Tuna Luso ranks in 1996. He joined Paysandu in 2005, but bagged a move to the famous Brazilian side Santos, where of course Neymar made his name in the same year. Between this time and the youth system in the first team, Ganso spent 7 years with Santos, scoring 11 in 63, and he helped the side reach the quarter-final stages of the 2008 Copa São Paulo and the final of the Campeonato Paulista in 2010, which side his side duly won, and also marked his first call-up to the Brazilian national side. The newspapers have been calling him the youngster that should replace the out of form at the time Kaká in the lead up to the South African World Cup. He ended up not quite fulfilling that, which we'll come on to in a moment. Ganso was later named among 7 backups for the 23-man squad, but obviously didn't make it. It was at Santos that he struck up his fearsome partnership with the aforementioned Neymar. The two of them were joined at the hip during their time together, helping the side to a number of titles and more than their fair share of goals. And while Neymar's development continued unabated, Ganso's began to stall, and his development was hampered by a 6-month knee injury which was severe enough to require surgery. And in 2012 he made his move from Santos to São Paulo for 9.1 million. That's quite a small fry nowadays, isn't it? In a bid to correct his fading form. During his 4-year run, the side Ganso made 140 appearances, scored 14 goals, but certainly more than expected. The youngster had seen the ideal partner for Neymar in just the seasons prior before he left. His performances for São Paulo saw him fall down the pecking order, and indeed in the Brazilian national side too. And he only made 4 appearances in 2011 and just won the following year in 2012. And with Ganso's last appearance in the Brazilian national side, that was it. That being said, Ganso was part of the Brazilian side that competed in the 2012 London Olympics, or 2012 I should say, not 2012. That would be very far in the future. He'd be very old. Where his side, of course, won a silver medal. And in 2016, Ganso decided it was time to test himself on the European stage. He signed a 5-year deal with the Spanish side Sevilla under Jorge Sampaoli, the Chilean coach, for €9.5 million with São Paulo. On the move, Ganso said, "At 26 years of age, I see myself as prepared to make the jump and do it well. I spoke a little bit with Sampaoli, and he wants me to play a little further back on the pitch and almost adapt my style to make the decisions that he chooses." So almost the for any fans of deep-lying playmakers, the Santi Cazorla role, if you will. South American nations are renowned for producing some of the greatest talents in the world. You think of the likes of Pelé, Jairzinho, Ronaldinho, Kaká, etc. And there was so much hope that this guy could be what Neymar has become. Unfortunately, who will remember the name of Ganso? Well, hopefully he's still got time on his side. With his move to Spain, it comes his last chance to show the potential that saw him as the heir to Kaká's throne, and indeed the perfect partner for Neymar. Ganso has shown flashes in his first 3 appearances for Sevilla, and it's hoped that he acclimatises to the demands of the Spanish league, and the Brazilian then can hopefully find his feet and get his position back in the Brazilian national team. And just quickly, during his size 2-1 victory over Deportivo Alaves, he replaced Luciano Vieto in the 61st minute, and he outrageously set up Vicente Ben-Yedder's leveller with a sublime back heel. If you haven't seen it, do look it up. I maybe have to post the video. And that's just a flash that the magic is very much still there, but consistency is the key. And his strengths mainly holding onto the ball, key passes, through balls, and he's a very good, very hard-working defensive contribution to his game as well. His weakness is probably the finishing. He's not particularly good in the air. Crossing can be poor, and he's not the best tackler. But we still hold hope that Ganso can fulfil his potential, if nothing else, to make a certain BBC pundit very happy. For those of you that don't know the Legendino, John, I don't know if you know of the Legendino. The
Legendino?
Yes.
Tim Vickery. Yes,
there you go.
Yep.
He's a massive fan of Ganso, so we hope that over time, hopefully, he can establish and have the career that he always promised. So there you go. There is Paulo Henrique Ganso, inducted into the Hipster Hall of Fame, if you weren't, into the Hipsters Choice. So just quickly, John, I just really wanted to pick up on the Kaká link more than anything else, because obviously he went to AC Milan wouldn't say unheralded, but he left sort of an unforgettable mark on that club. And he was obviously a Brazilian coming out of his comfort zone and moving into a club with so much history and tradition. And Sevilla have got history of their own, a magnificent stadium, and they're one of the clubs that are expected to perform well in La Liga. So do you think this is a potential sort of Kaká-esque move? Do you think Ganso can do similar to what Kaká left behind in Milan?
I think he's got the right manager there at Sevilla. So Sampaoli is very demanding, and doing everything for the team comes first rather than individual talent. I think a lot of people have been critical of Ganso before, that because he hadn't made the move to Europe a bit younger, he'd kind of got a little bit lax and almost overconfident in his own ability with what he could do, which. You could accuse Neymar or someone of that, but what he did was he took that and went and proved it on the biggest stage as early as possible. The one thing that's always surprised me about Ganso is that he didn't move earlier. I always thought when he was sort of 22, 23, maybe he would have made the move then. But he's at the right club and with the right manager, and he's still got enough time that if he does consistently well at Sevilla, he could get a move to arguably an even bigger club. He's definitely got the ability to be able to perform at the highest level.
Yeah, I totally agree. As you say, it was a real shame when he got the injury at the wrong time. That was definitely a tough break for him. But as you say, I'm much the same. Really, really surprised that he didn't make the move when he had the opportunity previously.
We've also seen another Brazilian, Pato, as well, who kind of fell off the radar a little bit and is now back and playing in Spain and doing well, and he's still got time to turn his career around. So I don't think Ganso's had a bad career by any means, but he's still got plenty of time to perform at the highest level. I think it's still there for him.
Yeah, agreed. Well, we will keep tabs on him because we're always a fan of the mercurial talents on the Football Hipsters podcast. So yes, we will keep an eye. And forgive me, I can't remember who it was that requested that we did Ganso. So whoever you are, please do remind me, and I'll give you a nudge next week. I can't remember who it was. Somebody definitely asked us to preview him. So there you go. You've had your wish, whomever you are. Right. Okay. Just the one segment to go. Then we'll wrap up the show as we usually do, although with a twist. It's this week's Onion Bag. Right, John, the twist is, excitingly, we have no questions.
Huzzah! We answered them all in the main segment, did we?
We did, yeah. We just had the two questions from our friend Shakaresk, which we answered obviously in the segment. We did have a question last week, came in late, from our good friend Gunnar Outpost, and he wanted us to name the best under 21 11 minimum 6 leagues represented. The reason I know the reason I haven't done that is because I think that's one that we need to do when we're all on.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely one to put on the back burner. And when we've got a week when Drew's back, for example, I think that's probably one for homework.
Definitely.
So we will work on that. We are also planning on maybe discussing the Golden Boys list in a future podcast as well.
Yes, it's been announced now, isn't it?
Yeah, lots of players in there. So we might try and tie that in. We might do that as a bit of a round table. Maybe have that question when we do a live podcast, which we are planning on doing. It's just finding the time to do it. So there you go. So in the absence of questions. We touched on the English Breakfast podcast last night, myself and Ross. Fantasy football, John. A little update for our listeners if they haven't heard the pod from last night, and if you haven't, why not? Damn it, listen. But quick update. If you didn't listen, our good friend Mardi under 19s team, Ali Ragab. Is the leader. He's out in front. I know you haven't had a chance to listen to last night's show, John, so I'll just give you his team. He has De Gea, Walker, Evans, Cedric, Capoue, Mikel Antonio, Alexis Sanchez, Darren Fletcher, Lukaku, Costa and Callum Wilson. So I think Capoue and Antonio are probably his biggest ace cards there this season so far. So he's done well there. He's got a bench of Foster, De Bruyne, Shaw and Dan, by the way. So Good work from him. However, John, the performance of the hipsters, not good, is it, really? Let's be honest. Not good at all. You are actually the highest performing hipster of the group.
Well, of course.
Which sickens me. Your team, Into Your Nan,
Yes.
No words for that. Hang your head in shame. But your team, De Gea, Barley, Azpilicueta, Cahill, Coleman. There's too much Chelsea, this for my liking, goodness me. Eden Hazard, Lallana, Capoue, Iheanacho, Lukaku and Slimani is your side.
It has been changed because I did have Aguero, and at the moment he got the red card, I remember I've only made 2 subs all season, and I remember taking him out and putting Iheanacho in because I thought he'll definitely play and he'll get some goals, and I clearly haven't changed him back, which I must remember to do. And I think I changed one of my midfielders because I'm pretty sure I had Aaron Ramsey at the start, and he got injured almost instantly. So yeah, I can't remember. I think I brought in Capoue for him, and then he got a load of goals, which was very nice.
I had a similar experience with Alexander Iwobi. I put in the start of the season. He didn't start brilliantly. Then I took him out because he got injured, and he's been brilliant ever since. So, yeah. And of course, without our good friend and researcher Kelly, you wouldn't change your team at all. Because she's always the one that reminds us. So, yes, thanks, Kel. Your bench, by the way, Forster, Baines, Faguli, Mendy.
Yes, Mendy needs to go because he was also injured, I think, since I picked him. And Faguli, I don't think has played that much, or if he has
played once, has he? Maybe I think I saw him.
And West Ham have been pretty poor all season, so they both need to go. So
yes, not good. We can laugh at my team just quickly if you like. Feel free. My team, Barbican Pirates FC, 29th out of 39. Not quite as bad as Ross, but not far off. I've got currently Mandanda, Bellerin, Fuchs, Van Aanholt, Pereira, Bolassi, Watmore, Gray, Lallana, Ibrahimovic and Aguero. I've got De Gea on the bench, Batshuayi, Friend and Target. There's quite a few that probably need to go there, but I think I've only got, was it 3 transfers you get? So
I think you get one transfer per week, but I think they store up.
Oh,
I'm
do
not
they?
Sure. They might store up, yes. So you might have loads of transfers you can make.
Ooh. Well, I'm frantically looking at my app as we speak in the transfer section. Apparently, I have 2 free transfers.
Oh, well, there you go.
So there you go. So while this international break is on, I might have to look at this and
make sure you do them now before anyone gets any injuries. Yeah, just don't wait until after.
Oh, crikey, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay, I'll do some research. But that's where the fantasy football is right now. So, yes, if you've got a team in there, keep us abreast of the information and how you're getting on. And best of luck to you. There will be a prize at the end of the season. And once again, our good friend in America, whose name escapes me at the moment, we haven't forgotten. We still owe you a prize. I'm really sorry. We will get round to sending you something when we can find something in John's cupboard. Right, FIFA, John, you haven't bought it yet, but a few of our listeners have. I know, terrible. But I have it. So for those of you listeners who want to play me, I'm not on very often because I'm a busy boy and I have to work for a living, unfortunately. I'm not rich and famous. But if you want to add my gamer tag on PS4, which is what I play it on, you can find me at CFreddy8, CFREDDIE number 8. Feel free to add me. Just maybe send me a quick message just to let me know who you are, just in case I don't want to add serial killers. So if you're not a serial killer, then please add me up. And again, if you want to interact with our listeners, please do share your gamer tags, tweet each other, or send us a message and we'll send out a tweet with your gamer tag if you want us to. And get involved, people, get involved. Right, before we go, John, I'm just going to give you some breaking news. Do you know what's special about Celtic's victory or Celtic's game tonight for the under-21s?
I feel like I should, but I definitely don't.
Okay, well, fear not, because you probably wouldn't know this, but I can give you some breaking news. There's a young lad in Celtic's academy. I don't believe he's a relation to Dembele, the young lad who's tearing it up there, but they have a young lad called Karamoko Dembele. Now, why are we bringing this up? Well, he's quite special. He's very, very talented, only a youngster, and he was named in the Celtic under-21s tonight. Do you know how old he is?
You're going to say something ridiculous like 15, aren't you?
He's 13.
13?
He is 13, and he made his debut for Celtic's development squad in their under-20 league game with Hearts this evening. Now, if that isn't hipster, I don't know what is.
That's
so
impressive.
There you go.
No pressure on that kid, then.
No, if you haven't looked up this story, just pop it into Twitter or Google. You'll see quite a few of those lovely little YouTube montages. Kid looks pretty handy. So we'll have to make a note of that one and keep our eye on him. So Karamoko Dembele. There's one for you to mark your card with. There you go. Right, okay, good stuff. We've had one late question. Shall we answer it, John?
Go on then, fire away.
As soon as it is our friend Gunnar Outpost, he must have known we were talking about him. It's actually a question for Tom. So it's going to be very difficult for us to answer it, but he wanted to ask about Grimaldo, Sergi Samper, Munayer and Sandro, most likely to make it to a top 4 club eventually. I'm going to answer this because I have a feeling you probably won't know too much about those. Or you might.
If I had to pick one of the ones I've seen the most, I'd probably actually say Munayer.
Okay.
But I must confess I haven't seen tons of that. I've nowhere seen as much as, say, yourself or Tom has.
No, well, tweet Tom, Mr. Outpost, but I would say Sergi Samper. I think he's playing right back from memory, I think, for Barca this season, but I like him. I think he's a very good player. And this Grimaldo, I believe, is a centre-back from memory. He's very highly rated as well. So, yeah, maybe all 4. Munir, I think, has been sent out on loan. I think he's at Valencia, from memory. But, yeah, names to watch. Names to watch. He's been a cheeky monkey, actually, because he sent us 2 more questions. He also asked us what position Embolo will end up flourishing in as a striker or out wide for Schalke. For me, striker. So that's that one done. And he also asked me, you're the chief at PSG. If you fire Emre, Cavani signs a 5-year extension or vice versa, which do you pick? Neither, because they both sound like horrendous decisions. so I'm going to say no. And he also asked, Christ, he's gone to town, look. Can we have a best under 21 11 from the top 5 to 6 leagues soon? Crikey. He doesn't ask for much, does he?
No,
good stuff, Mr. Outpost, and we will get across that at some point as well.
Are we allowed players who are of the age of 21, or do they all have to be actually under 21?
Oh, he said, can we have an under 21 best 11 for the top 5 leagues? So, top 5 to 6 leagues. So, He also asked a question about Ajax. He's still firing them in as I'm speaking. That's one for Drew, I'm afraid. Although we will be going to Holland for the best of the rest next week. Yeah. So stay tuned.
Oh, one last thing before we finish. We are going to wrap up, listeners, don't worry. We have a special shout-out for a listener, or a YouTube listener. I assume that's how he listened. Jim Condon, who left us a lovely comment on YouTube. So I just want to give him a little shout-out.
Yes, he did. He's a Birmingham fan, is Jim. He's listening to I believe he's listening to us on YouTube, and he said he really appreciates us talking about the Championship and giving it some attention. So thank you, Jim. Shout out goes to you this week, my friend. We appreciate you listening. I don't know if you're on Twitter, so if you are, please give us a tweet, and we'll retweet it, and hopefully get a few people following you that maybe are fellow Birmingham fans, and of course our Villa fan. Chris Bayliss, he's written his blog, and we're just in the process of getting some bits and bobs together to edit that, and we'll get that live hopefully during the international break. Pretty sure we can, so look out for that as well. So thank you very much to those 2 gentlemen. Right, John, that's it then. We'll draw a line under the pod this week. As usual, thank you very much for your time, and indeed for filling in for me and for Drew and for Tom. We're kind of filling in for each other, so thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
We will, of course, return. We are planning to do a little special during the international break, but it will be more English football focused. Myself and Ross are going to have a little chat about the Championship, funnily enough. So do look out for that. And I know Tom is doing another interview with Graham Hunter again, isn't it, I think?
Yes.
So that will hopefully be out during the international break as well. So do look out for those. And as always with the Hipsters podcast, we're always doing something. So stay tuned to @the FH podcast, and as I say, all the usual places: SoundCloud, iTunes, Twitter, YouTube, all the places you can find us. Just keep hitting that button. Right, thank you very much for listening. As we always say on the podcast, keep your beard strong and your glasses trendy. Myself and John, thank you for your time. We have been the Football Hipsters, and enjoy your football. If anyone can enjoy international football, do your very best. We will speak to you very soon.